art cup. Hey, you, don't touch the art.
Welcome to part 2 of our heist season finale. Art Cop here to recap, briefly, what went down in part 1. Believe it or not, after 9 episodes, a heist finally happened. The art museum, the crown jewel of this Midwestern metropolis, was robbed. Rumors swirled, whispers of an inside job. Prime suspect? Me. Preposterous, my hot, smart, kind, funny girlfriend proclaimed. She vowed to investigate and clear her dame's name of blame. First to be questioned, the Belgian minister Speculas. Our Belgian bakery broad had the hots for M, but the trail was going cold. Until the Belgian minister mentioned goose feathers in the Greek and Roman gallery. Our next suspect? Debbie from Building Permits, bureaucrat by day, queen of the rubber stamp mafia by night. Had she framed me to get me out of the way so she could rule the inky underworld? Turns out, no. But she was working with the Goose Mafia, the real power in town. When Debbie heard about the feathers found in the galleries, she freaked out and, in exchange for witness protection, brokered a meeting for us with the infamous Golden Goose. We met the Golden Goose out on the green. DNA analysis proved the feathers were his, but he had an airtight alibi. Turns out one of his goosebuzz was selling feathers on the side. Those feathers? Purchased by none other than the mayor's stooge, Sid. Now here we are, biking to City Hall, just a couple of gal pals determined to crack this case, clear my name, and bring these criminals to justice.
How can we be discreet when you're out here huffing and puffing like an asthmatic walrus?
0 emissions, babe. We're saving the planet one lactic acid buildup at a time. Look, everyone's staring. Yay! I hope everyone knows we're doing a really great job at steak outing.
You've definitely outed us. Congratulations. We biked lazy circles in the parking lot until our mark exited the building. Sid peeled out and sped downtown. We pedaled after him in hot pursuit. We followed Sid on an apparent errand run. First, he picked up the mayor's dry clean. Then, he visited every posh roastery in the city and purchased from each a single perfectly roasted coffee bean. After that, he went door to door, distributing anti-library leaflets. Finally, he stopped at an industrial paper shredding company. We watched as he dragged 2 black trash bags inside.
Do you think he's shredding evidence?
Only one way to find out.
Did Sid just order a pizza?
I think he did, Art Cop. I think he did. Covert Ops, a dangerous game. I'd gone undercover before. Back in the day, I'd infiltrated a clown school. Juggling, acrobatics, makeup, all a front for a money laundering scheme. For 3 months, I studied mime. I didn't speak a single word. Not to Stan, not even to my dame. You think a vow of silence didn't test our relationship? But I did right by God and country. Busted those clowns the day after I graduated summa cum laude. In the end, the clowns walked. United States versus clowning around ended in a mistrial. Apparently, when you read suspects their Miranda rights, you have to actually say the words out loud. You can't just mime them. That was a valuable learning experience for me. I saw the dark side of undercover work, how you could lose yourself in a character. I'd always tried to protect my dame from the more dangerous aspects of art coppery, but after the clown debacle, I realized my fears were holding her back. From then on, I gave up control, and once I let go, my dame soared sky high. Her shtick was this: pizza delivery guy. Classic. You know how many doors open for you in this life when you're carrying a pizza? You'll go far. Luckily for us, my dame had stashed pizza boxes and uniforms in strategic locations around town. A quick visit to a manhole And we transformed ourselves into Margarita and Krusty, purveyors of pie. I bring the sauce, she brings the cheese. Just a couple of gal pals out on the town delivering deep dish dreams. Today's order, stuffed crust topped with espionage. Hot out of the oven.
Oh, pizza delivery! No one here ordered a pizza, but why don't you head on back to our sensitive shredding area? I'll buzz you right through.
The mill was eerily silent apart from the rhythmic whirring of shredders. We wended our way through rows of recycling bins, footsteps muffled by paper dust. Strips fluttered down from the rafters. As the vents cycled on, drafts agitated the scraps. Flutter and drip. There was a hush in the air. This was a paper graveyard, a place where secrets went to die. Predictably, Sid was shredding documents. Page by page, he fed his secrets to the sharp steel teeth. We had to stop him, and fast. As art cops, my dame and I are avowed pacifists. But sometimes this job calls for whimsical violence. There would be no gunplay today, but my dame did deliver the daily special. A variation on the classic pistol whip, the humble pie.
Pizza delivery, bitch.
Ow!
Have you ever been slapped across the face by a moldy old slice of pizza? The moment the crust makes contact, you lose the will to fight. And the tomato splatter! Those stains are never coming out. No matter where you run, no matter where you hide, you're forever a marked man. But it's the sensation of cold, congealed cheese on the skin that breaks you. I've witnessed even the most hardened gangsters renounce a life of crime after taking a pizza slice to the face. And Sid was no different. Our sniveling stooge was curled up in a fetal position on the floor, sobbing. I pounced on his papers. What I saw changed me forever. These documents are blank. Why are you shredding blank pages?
What's it to you? Who the heck are you walking around slapping people with pizza? Hey, wait a minute. You're those obnoxious art cops. You do realize impersonating a pizza delivery guy is a federal offense, right? Punishable by up to 3 years in prison?
Just answer the question, wise guy.
You don't know what it's like being under the mayor's thumb all day. Sid, make me a dozen grilled cheese sandwiches. Sid, hang a portrait of me in every public building in the greater metropolitan area. Sid, fetch me a rock from the surface of the moon. My therapist and I came up with this coping mechanism to help me reassert control over my life. So yes, sometimes I shred paper just to blow off steam.
Had we collared the wrong criminal? Was Sid simply a helpless cog in the capitalist machine grappling like the rest of us with the illusion of free will?
We heard you purchased goose feathers from a certain shady avian purveyor. Care to comment?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh. Boost me.
My dame came charging at me like a rhino. Hers was the leap of faith. She jumped into my arms and I lifted her effortlessly up and over into the industrial recycling bin.
Ugh. Ow. I'm okay. I'm okay.
She tossed out fistfuls of shredded documents. Forecast, a blizzard of paper strips changing over into goose down? Feathers fluttered all around. A total whiteout.
Aha!
Oh shit. I don't know how those got in there.
Don't play coy with me, chicken shit. We've got you for possession. Under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, it is illegal to possess feathers from any protected migratory bird species. And guess who's on that list? That's right. Bronta canadensis. Your goose is cooked.
Why'd you do it, Sid? Why rob the museum?
I didn't, I swear. All I did was buy some feathers and dump them in the gallery. Like every other aspect of my professional life, I was just doing what I was told.
Explain.
3 days before the heist, I got a threatening phone call. The caller told me when and where to buy the feathers. It told me exactly what to do. I was to scatter them in front of a specific case when the mayor visited the museum.
Describe the voice.
They used a voice distorter. Sounded like a robot.
What time did the call come in?
1 o'clock exactly. I was just clocking out for the day. The mayor said I could leave early because he was going golfing with the boys.
How were you threatened?
A while back, I was approached by a gaggle of concerned librarians. The mayor's anti-library campaign was revving up, and they wanted a man on the inside, a mole. For the last 6 months or so, I've been feeding Oppo research to the librarians in exchange for unlimited renewals on hot reads. The color threatened to expose me to the mayor.
If you ask me, getting fired by the schmuck would be a blessing.
You can kiss my political ambitions goodbye after that. He's connected to the most powerful players on the local and state levels. Money, influence, prestige. I just have to tough it out. After all, I'm serving the office, not the person. I just have to wait for the political headwinds to change.
What about background noises in the call?
Oh, the call definitely came from City Hall. Whoever it was, they were getting on an elevator. I'd recognize that chime anywhere. That's all I know. I didn't rob the museum, I swear.
One last question. Who knew about your trip to the museum?
Just me and the mayor. He knows there's leaks in his inner circle. The walls are closing in.
So Sid, our prime suspect, was a patsy. They say when you point a finger, 3 more point back at you. Someone was fingering the golden goose. We just had to figure out who. Sid said the call came from City Hall. If we wanted to solve the crime, we'd have to penetrate our local bastion of bureaucracy. Luckily, we had an in. Our cooperating witness promised to put us on the guest list for the mayor's black tie gala, a library fundraiser. The dame and I tandem biked home to get all dolled up. I was feeling dapper in a bespoke suit. My dame was très chic in her designer dress. The library fundraiser was the exclusive event of the year. Security was tight. Librarians lined the streets to City Hall, protesting the mayor's anti-library campaign.
Read our lips. We're here to stay. Check out your local library today.
My dame and I tandem biked the red carpet. After handing off our bike to a very confused valet, we joined the queue walking up the marble steps. Soon, we were ushered into a private elevator. Destination, penthouse. The party was in full swing. Guests nibbled hors d'oeuvres and sipped wine poured by sommeliers. Generous pours. Ties were loosening and lips too. Gossip, intrigue, and greed. Here at this penthouse party, movers and shakers schemed in the shadows. The city was for sale. Politicians were being bought left and right. The talk was pure profit. Meanwhile, Mr. Mayor was the toast of the town. He worked the crowd, smooth-talking and slick. He flirted with the dames. He talked stock tips and golf swings with the men. He pitched his vision for the city. And the checkbooks came out. I could see dollar signs in his eyes as he racked up the riches. He was making out like a bandit. But was he a thief? My dame and I sipped seltzer water while we cased the joint. All the major players were here. The mayor, oozing corruption and smarm. Sid, laughing sycophantically. The golden goose and his goose boss playing high-stakes poker by the bar. Debbie was stamping hands at the door. Even the Belgian minister Speculas was here, back in town to sign off on a cookie deal. Apparently, she had almost kicked off an international incident hours earlier. Local Girl Scouts were selling their cookies outside City Hall when everyone's favorite Belgian minister arrived for their fundraiser. Literally shooed a troop of 9-year-old girls away and set up shop, hawking her biscuits to the top tax bracket. All our suspects serendipitously schmoozing at the same gala. Coincidence? No. There was a more nefarious explanation. A hack writer hoping to bumble her way into an expeditious and satisfactory conclusion to our whodunit. But I digress. FaceTime with the mayor was pay to play. We were net worthless to a man of his means, but we had will and wits. My dame and I sneaked off to the kitchen. Catering uniforms, starched and pressed, hung on a clothes rack parked outside the walk-in coolers. My dame and I did a quick change. We emerged as Pinot and Noir, expert sommeliers. The mayor was berating the bartender when we swooped in and swept him off his feet.
Mr. Mayor, we have wines you absolutely must try.
Make it snappy. Every second I'm not making money, I'm depreciating in value.
Tell us, do you generally prefer dries or wets? Maybe a moist wine? A damp wine? Caveat, my wine expertise is very niche. We're talking cooking wine and communion wine exclusively.
Let's start him off with a Zinfandel and go from there.
Let me just give the bottle a good shake. We want it nice and frothy for you. Ugh, the cork is stuck. If only I had some specialized tool to help. Oh well, I'll just smash the bottle against the bar. Kind of like christening a ship on its maiden voyage. It's good luck. We'll drink the dregs. The bouquet has hints of dust, hair, and commercial cleaning solution. Now we'll test the legs. Strong. You could run a marathon on these bad boys. Here, have a taste. Just try to drink around the broken glass, okay? We don't need any internal bleeding.
Oh, that's disgusting!
That one can be an acquired taste. Maybe with a better sense of your palate, I can find the right wine for you. Just looking over my wine list here, would you say you've ever engaged in criminal activity?
Just your standard corruption, bribery, racketeering.
Okay, more specifically, have you ever robbed an art museum?
Have you seen City Hall? As soon as I got elected, I had Public Works take down every painting, photograph, and sculpture on the premises. Now we got indoor putting greens and 24/7 sports on flat screen TVs.
Ah, I have just the thing. Pino and I are trialing a new tableside wine brewing experience, and I'd love for you to be our inaugural taste tester. We're talking fresh. Why drink wine bottled years ago collecting dust in a moldy old cellar when you can get that taste of grape right off the vine?
Oh, sounds exclusive.
Extremely. Excuse me while I mash up these grapes I stole from the kitchen. I'm going to ask Pino here to cup her hands and hold these grapes while I squirt some hand sanitizer in there for that zip of alcohol. Our wine is best paired with friends. In fact, a very specific friend. How about the person who visited your office 3 days before the museum heist? Perchance that friend is here now?
3 days before the heist? Let me see. I only had one appointment that day. I was going golfing with the boys, so I had Sid clear my schedule. Funnily enough, it was Director Ditz who came calling that day.
The director?
Would I call Director Ditz a friend? We have a common interest, I'll say that. Money! Although, I may not be seeing her for a while now, poor dear.
Why? Is she sick?
Worse, poor dear.
She's dying?
No, I just told you. She's poor. Spent all her money ditzing around, and now I can't afford to be seen with it. Let's just say she won't be ordering tableside wine brewing anytime soon. I've glimpsed her future. Box Merlot and $2 Chuck. Pretty grim. She asked me for money that day, you know. I wrote her a check. In return, they're naming the museum after me and adding a wing dedicated to sports memorabilia. Picture it. The Mayor Memorial Art Museum Hall of Fame.
Our cop looked like she'd seen a ghost. The director's indiscretionary spending was legendary, but I'd always tried to hide the truth of her financial woes from my dame. After all, our cop was the kind of naive soul who would pick up the phone and offer the director her weekly paycheck. Well, I knew just one of the director's designered handbags cost more than our cop's whole salary, but I didn't have the heart to tell her that. We left the mayor holding a handful of home-brewed hand sanitizer wine sludge. I escorted my dame to a chaise lounge and fanned her until her eyelids fluttered.
Did you know?
Everyone knew. The director had mismanaged museum funds for years, until the board handed the purse strings over to the assistant director. She was the one doing the real hard work of running the museum. Overworked and underappreciated, Assistant Director Llewellyn Davies was running the whole show while Director Ditz shopped for designer shoes and handbags. Still, I never suspected the director would self-sabotage so spectacularly, ruining her reputation along with her credit score. Coincidentally, or not, Director Ditz and Assistant Director Llewellyn Davies had both made the guest list. Late additions, no doubt our hack writer had a hand in the last-minute invite. The director was rubbing shoulders with the rich, shooting the shit. Profligate she may be, but she was a one-woman fundraiser. She had cash in hand, but at what price? She had already promised naming rights to the mayor. What else was she selling off?
Excuse me, director?
Oh, dear me. Could you please step back? I'm allergic to pour.
We'd just like to ask you a few questions about the museum heist.
I'm afraid I don't speak poor. Where is that blasted Llewellyn Davies? She's in the lower tax bracket. Surely she could translate for me.
You rang?
Yes. I need you to translate again.
Art Cop, M, what are you two doing here? And why are you dressed like expert sommeliers?
I am continually astonished that you associate yourself with the hoi polloi LD. Aren't you worried you'll catch chlamydia?
You definitely can't catch chlamydia just by being in the same room with the lower middle class.
Back!
What did you just spray us with?
A patented chemical formula containing UV light, isopropyl alcohol, and liquefied bootstraps guaranteed to neutralize and dissolve the pore on contact. But you're not neutralized.
That's sugar water.
Director, these women are museum employees.
Oh, my underlings. I suppose I can deign to talk then. Although, the last time I addressed a front-of-house employee, my back hurt for 3 days from stooping so low. What can I do for you, underling?
Just a couple of questions, if you please. Where were you at 1 o'clock 3 days before the museum heist?
Oh, my dear, how should I know? I can't even recall what I ate for lunch yesterday. I grossly underpay a flunky to remember for me. Yoo-hoo, flunky!
For lunch yesterday, you enjoyed whole roasted branzino served alongside rice pilaf, sweet potato hash, and broccolini.
Actually, you were here at City Hall that day. You had a meeting with the mayor to discuss an upcoming community-curated exhibition.
Oh, yes. Sometimes we do have to pretend we're interested in the opinions of the commoners, and not just the VIP donors who give us money and loan us their art long-term for tax-dodging purposes.
Did you make any phone calls while you were at City Hall that day?
The director vigorously and categorically denies placing or receiving any phone calls while at City Hall on the day in question.
Mayor says he loaned you some money.
That stale marshmallow? With his 54 golf handicap and Ponzi schemes? Here's a hot trading tip for you, Nancy Drew. Don't put any stock in what the mayor says.
The director was as cool as a cucumber. It was time to turn up the heat and make her sweat. We obtained a copy of your cell phone records. According to this log, you dialed out at the exact minute the mayor's sidekick, Sid, received a threatening call, coercing him into crime.
What a spunky little investigator. Now I remember that call. Yes, I was calling my dear Aunt Mildred.
I'd love to get in touch with dear Aunt Mildred. I'm sure she'd be happy to corroborate your story.
You can't do that. I'm afraid she died yesterday.
Oh, I'm I'm so sorry to hear of your alibi's, Aunt's convenient and sudden demise.
Thank you. Yes, spontaneous combustion. There she was 1 minute, knitting sweaters for Sphinx cats. The next, poof, burst into flames.
My condolences. You seem to be bearing up remarkably well.
Well, in the midst of life, we are in death, yada yada yada. My doctor assured me the condition is not genetic, so the odds of your dearly beloved director bursting into flames is mercifully low.
Check your britches, director. Liar, liar, as they say.
I see there's no fooling whip-smart art cops such as yourselves. All right, I confess. I did beg the mayor for money. It pains me to admit this, but I was in dire financial straits. Maybe I took out a loan from the Golden Goose to cover my debts. Maybe I couldn't repay him in a timely manner. Maybe he threatened to sick his goosebahs on me. I simply could not bear the indignity of honking, squawking waterfowl chasing me around the museum grounds. What if I was seen?
And just like that, our case had gone up in flames, combusted as suddenly as dear Aunt Mildred. If the director had truly touched the mayor for money, her motive was moot, or so I thought.
E tu, Brute?
Act 3, Scene 1, Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. So says our eponymous protagonist when the knives come out. Hurt and shocked by his protégé's behavior, Caesar utters these words and dies from a bajillion stab wounds. Very dramatic. Apropos, since the stolen art was also Roman, and because you, dear director, have betrayed the very institution you swore to uphold and protect, leaving me bleeding, metaphorically, on the cold marble floor. That's right, you perpetrated this dastardly heist. They say blood is thicker than water. Here at the museum, we are more than employees, colleagues, peers. We are family. It says so in the orientation packet. How could you betray your own flesh and blood? Don't bother summoning your flunky, director. Your denials fall on deaf ears.
It's true. I'm standing right here.
I first began to suspect all was not as it seemed when my jet-setting babe came back from Belgium. I had the biscuits she was gifted by the Minister of Speculoos analyzed by the lab. The chemical composition was off. The traditional speculoos recipe calls for white pepper, coriander seeds, and ground ginger, among other spices, but all 3 ingredients were missing from these supposed speculoos. Naturally, I dialed the counterfeit cookie hotline. I was told by a very polite, yet very confused operator that the real Belgian Minister of Speculoos had been out on maternity leave for a month. So if this woman wasn't the Belgian Minister of Speculoos, who was she? And why was she lurking around our humble Midwestern town?
There is some real Belgian Minister of Speculation going on here, if you ask me. You throw out these wild accusations, but tell me, Art Cop, could a non-Belgian person do this?
It appears she's doing the Macarena? And yes, non-Belgians can do that. In fact, I did the Macarena in the previous episode.
What's she doing now?
Tossing my cookies. Finally, I can be rid of this stale, nasty-ass shortbread.
If you're not the Belgian Minister of Speculoos, then who are you?
I am Phoebe.
We have a mysterious Greek woman impersonating a Belgian government official, and you're telling me she's not the thief?
Oh, Phoebe here has her part to play in our little drama, but as for the actual theft, that's all the director.
What motive could I possibly have for robbing my own museum? Certainly my finances were in the red, shall we say? When I was milking my cash cow, the mare. All my debts were paid, and I even had some fun money left over to spend on my girls.
I didn't know you were a mother.
Yes, my twin daughters, Chanel and Prada.
What about the feathers, Art Cop? Clearly the Goose Mafia was involved.
Classic misdirection. By coercing Sid into planting feathers at the scene of the crime, the director sent us on a wild goose chase. Our prime suspect? The Bronta Canadensis Capo de Capi himself.
Primo, guilty as charged. number one suspect and number one in your heart. Everyone's favorite legitimate business goose. Your attempts to sully my good name rode like water off a duck's back.
Oh, that, like me, is rich. You're nothing more than a hissing, honking headline whore.
Why, I oughta.
Clearly, you've all got this handled. Good job, underling. Congratulations on cracking the case. I'm just going to fake my death and jaunt off to the island paradise of Saint-Tropez.
Not so fast. Money wasn't the only thing you were careless with, was it, Director? You were also careless with something equally valuable. Your reputation.
Oh, my dear, I assure you, I ruined that years ago.
And there was no check you could write, no trust fund you could plunder, no rich buddies you could touch to buy it back. No, you would have to earn your reputation through hard work, like the very proletariat you spend your day looking down on, literally from your penthouse office.
You really think I care what the unwashed masses think about me?
Absolutely not. But you do care what these people think, for example. Your people. The rich. The upper crust. The creme de la creme. And so you hatched a daring plan.
Really, this is very far-fetched. Why would I rob my own museum?
Why would any thief target our art museum? After all, artwork is notoriously difficult to unload. You can ship it overseas, far, far away from the long arm of the law, or you can hide it in storage for decades. But it's not like a catalytic converter you can strip or a stolen Rolex you can fence. Besides, who would dare risk the wrath of not one, but two highly trained art cops? No, there had to be something special about the pieces that were stolen. And then a light bulb went off. When I interviewed the curator of Greek and Roman art at the scene of the crime, she told me she had been conducting research. Provenance research. And what, you may ask, is provenance research? Well, let's ask an expert. Take it away, Assistant Director.
Every piece of artwork that is acquired by a reputable museum has a documented history. Think of it like a chain of custody. Who owned the artwork, when, and where? Each time the artwork changes hands, documentation is added. For antiquities, especially, provenance can be tricky to prove. Imagine you have an Assyrian bust from 600 BCE. Now imagine trying to track the path of that bust through thousands of years of history, from ancient Assyria to a modern-day museum in New York. On top of that, you have looters and shady art dealers who will forge or fake provenance documents. Like any reputable museum, we always do our due diligence on potential acquisitions. But even some of the most famous art museums in the world have been defrauded a time or two.
So our curator just happened to be studying the provenance of the pieces that were stolen? Could it be the legitimacy of the museum's ownership was in question? I cornered our curator, and my conjecture was confirmed. New archaeological evidence had surfaced, suggesting the pieces purchased in good faith by the museum nearly half a century ago were likely looted from a dig site in Greece. The news hadn't been made public. Only the board and C-suite executives knew. Oh, and the entire Unitary Parliamentary Republic of Greece. They had been publicly demanding the return of those specific pieces for the last month and a half. Repatriating artwork is a hot topic in the art world. Do museums have an ethical obligation to return antiquities to their country of origin? Okay, I was kind of hoping an ethics expert would bust down the door and start pontificating on the topic, but I forgot our hack writers have a strict no deus ex machina policy.
Just to recap, your working theory is that I stole the art to repatriate it to Greece? Outrageous! I've never been accused of such a righteous act in all my life.
You saw the heist as a long-term investment. In the short term, the museum might look bad, but you were miles removed from the day-to-day operations. Let Llewellyn Davies and the art cops handle the fallout. In the future, you would enjoy a special, cozy relationship with Greece. What did you promise her, Phoebe?
A special collaborative relationship, including exclusive access to loan opportunities. We were going to loan your institution the Acropolis, the Parthenon, the Oracle at Delphi. Your institution would have been the envy of the Western world, the Mediterranean Midwest.
Birds of a feather flock together, Art Cop. Don't you see? With such prestigious loans secured, other countries around the world would be throwing their treasures at us. The Mona Lisa, Girl with Pearl Earring, The Last Supper, the tomb of Tutankhamun. I'd go down in history as the world's most beloved art museum director. I'd be cherished, revered, esteemed, admired, acclaimed.
While the director rattled off her superlatives and basked in self-adulation, Arkop and I took a victory lap around the penthouse.
Do you think she'll run out of words anytime soon?
Not likely. She's full of hot air.
And idolized. Full of hot air. You want to see hot air? Say hello to my getaway vehicle. Ciao, underlings.
Now listen, I'm a tough broad. There's only two things that make me go weak at the knees in this world. My dame and balloons. Globophobia is a serious issue that affects tens of people worldwide. I am a globophobe, and I am not ashamed. But I see the director boarding a hot air balloon, and I do start hyperventilating. Just go on without me, babe. Leave me here.
I thought we weren't doing Deus Ex Machinas. If she gets one, we should get one too. Stan! Full disclosure, I was really hoping for something with wings, but we'll make do with Stan.
The director hopped into the wicker basket and switched the propane valve. She rose slowly into the air, higher and higher.
She's going to shatter the glass ceiling.
Right on cue, the director's flunky whipped out a harpoon gun and fired.
Whoops! Nowhere to go but up. I have ascended. I, Director Ditz, am above you all. Bow before a true criminal mastermind. Cower in fear, trembling at my intellect and audacity. Why are you not cowering? Oh, that's more like it. Attention, attention, everyone. Be more like that trembling underling over there.
Oh, she's not cowering for you. She's just terrified of balloons.
What a pussy.
Well, Stan took that personally. With a ferocious roar, our fearsome lion jumped into the fray. Stan latched onto the wicker basket and clawed his way in. What exactly went down in that basket remains a mystery to this day. All we could do was calculate the damage. 1 Hermes scarf, tattered. 1 designer handbag, mauled. Designer pumps, scratched and scuffed. Tiffany glasses, battered and broken. All told, $300,000. During the scuffle, the hot air balloon lurched back and forth, but floated on, held aloft by a belching flame.
I may not be an expert sommelier, but I am a fire safety champion.
With that, my dame leapt into action. She snatched a bottle of Merlot and poured out the wine. She filled the empty bottle a third of the way with vinegar. Next, a dash of water. She shook out baking soda onto a cocktail napkin, wadded it up, and jammed it down the neck of the wine bottle. She handed this device to me with one simple instruction.
Shake vigorously.
And this trembling, writhing mess of globophobes shook like there was no tomorrow.
If only we had some pressure.
Babe, this is the season finale of Heist. You've been under pressure ever since you started writing this episode.
Oh, right. I'm under a ton of pressure.
With that, our makeshift fire extinguisher was ready.
When extinguishing a fire, remember the acronym PASS. Pull the pin, aim the nozzle, squeeze the handle, sweep across the flames.
Curse you, our cop!
With the burner extinguished, the hot air balloon sank like a lead balloon. They say cats always land on their feet. Can confirm, we watched Stan plummet a good 50 feet and walk away disdainfully, totally unscathed. Cat burglars? Well, they land in jail. The director, totally deflated after her fall from grace, confessed to the crime. Turns out she had stashed the pieces in the museum store, hidden among replicas and tchotchkes. Maybe one day those pieces will leave the museum, if this provenance bombshell is corroborated by experts in the field. For now, the pieces are off view, as is the director while she awaits her trial.
As for the rest of our colorful cast, consider this an epilogue for those, like my mother, who cannot bear to leave any question unanswered at the end, no matter how trivial. Hi, Mom. Phoebe, aka the Belgian minister Speculas, led a Grecian envoy to Belgium to formally apologize for impersonating a Belgian government official. Together, she and the real Belgian minister Speculas pledged to strengthen ties between the nations, aided by sweet, sweet baklava and shortbread biscuit diplomacy. Debbie quit her job in building permits after approving one final permit, her own. She opened her tattoo parlor downtown, pursuing her lifelong dream of making her mark on the world. The Golden Goose has been funding anti-foie gras protests. Flocks of geese strut the streets, effectively shutting down the city. You can't walk anywhere downtown without stepping in goose shit. Meanwhile, our Bronte Canadensis Capo de Capi makes a fortune, price gouging, selling tickets to ride his fleet of duck boats, which, mysteriously, circle the city unmolested by his goose buzz. Chicken Shit Sid is still sidekicking it. When he's not picking up the mayor's dry cleaning, he's shredding. And I don't mean paper. Sid is the frontman of a sellout rock band called Political Expediency. The mayor, meanwhile, continues his campaign for re-election. After the heist went down, he got a hefty bump in the polls. 64% approve of his tough-on-crime policies. Hypocritical since the man commits a crime a day. Librarians across the city have been throwing the book at him, literally. We'll see come election day if this city turns the page on corruption and cronyism. Assistant Director Llewellyn Davies assumed the role of interim director after much begging by the board. Her first official act? She shut down the director's tax, the mandatory $50 tribute automatically subtracted from our paychecks for the privilege of gazing upon the godlike visage of our dear leader. As for me and M, well, our hack writers have graciously allowed us a cliché, the proverbial happily ever after ending. Just a couple of gal pal art cops guarding the art and each other's hearts. Heist was written and produced by Art Cop and M. Special thanks to all our voice actors. Sarah Ray Werner of the Right Now podcast and Girl in Space, voice of the Belgian minister Speculas / Phoebe. You know why I'm grateful to Sarah? Not just because she has a professional recording studio, although that's a pretty great plus for an editing novice such as myself. No, I'm grateful because Sarah always shares her wisdom. Her guidance was instrumental in getting this project off the ground. To Tim Kraus, creator of the Omen podcast, thank you for voicing Mayor Katzenbucket. When searching for voice actors who would be willing to work for free, I realized I actually interact with very few men. So thanks for being born with a baritone and sharing your sonorous voice. I kept it in the family this week. Thanks to my brother H for reprising his role as the Golden Goose. Every time I step in goose shit, I'll think of you. Special thanks to my sister R for playing that rich bitch Director Ditz. You have a face for TV, a voice for radio, and an infectious energy in the recording studio, aka your attic. Finally, to M. So many hours recording together. At times, all the time, I was an exacting director. But you always brought the energy and warmth. I hope you feel proud of all we've accomplished. So what's next for Heist? A hiatus. Maybe a few months on a beach in Tahiti. After that, I hope to bring you all more episodes in the future. I've saved a final special thank you for last. This one goes out to you, our faithful listening audience. Thank you for finding us, for listening. Time is valuable. I hope you feel this production was worthy of yours. Updates to follow. Stay tuned to our socials, which I hope to update more regularly. Heist Podcast on Facebook, at Art Cop Gal Pals on X, and Heist Headquarters on Instagram. With that, for one final time this season, Heist out.